Good evening everybody, I am CA Supreet Agrawal. I am an ACCA India, ex-KPMG Bahrain and an India Book of Records holder. My friends, whenever I have worked at, be it at EY or be it at KPMG, I have worked in the audit and assurance domain only. And I am going to use all of that experience that I have learned over there along with my teaching experience to make this subject, which is ACCA AA, a very learning and fun experience for all of you. Okay, so now before starting with the discussion on ACCA AA subject, I would like to ask a question to all of you. Okay, please confirm me this thing, whether audit is a theoretical subject or a practical subject. Please confirm. Audit is a theoretical subject or a practical subject. Please confirm. Audit is a theoretical subject or a practical subject. What do you say? What do you say? Please let me know in the chat box. What do you say? I can read your chats. Okay, so yes, please let me know. Yes. Or is a theoretical subject or a practical subject? I am sure most of you, almost 90% plus students would say that it is a theoretical subject, right? But my friends, I have one line which I have created for audit, and I would like all of you to please remember it whenever you study or work in audit, okay? Especially when you study, which is audit is the most practical subject written in the most theoretical manner. Repeat after me. Audit is the most practical subject written in the most theoretical manner. Now, why do I say that? I am saying this because whatever you study in audit, whatever, be it standards, be it certain practices, it is 100% similarly applicable in the real world scenario as well. Generally, there are no adjustments, only professional judgments are there. However, there would not be any assumptions, there will not be any adjustments. Whatever you study, whatever the standard says, you have to follow it word by word. And that is why I say that audit, be it written in the theoretical manner, it is the most practical subject. So repeat after me, audit is the most practical subject written in the most theoretical manner. So one belief that you need to let go of is that audit is a theoretical subject, because it is a very practical subject, and that is why whenever we study audit, we are going to take a lot of real life examples, a lot of real life scenarios, and we are going to make sure that your judgments are at par with the real world professionals as well. Okay, now let's discuss about that how we are going to discuss about audit and assurance paper for December 25 or March 26 attempts. Okay, especially December 25. So my friends, before studying about that, let us first discuss the subject. As in, before studying about the subject, let's first understand the subject. Okay, so the subject is audit and assurance. Okay, the objective of the paper is very simple. The objective of the paper is clearly defined and very simple. Number one, knowledge and understanding. Okay, are these objectives given by me? No, these are objectives given by the ACCA body. Okay, so knowledge and understanding of the process of carrying out the assurance engagement and its application in the context of the professional regulatory framework. Let's break down this sentence and then try to understand it. Knowledge and understanding, that is, you need the technical knowledge, which is the standard based knowledge, and the understanding, that is, you need to understand it in such a way that you can take the professional calls also, of the process of carrying out the assurance engagement. Now, what is an assurance engagement? So I'll just define assurance engagement, what is written in the text. I'll just define it. Okay, assurance engagement is an engagement where a practitioner, as in the auditor in simple words, okay, where a practitioner does what? Evaluates the subject matter as in generally the financial statements given by a responsible party. Generally the responsible party is the management, against certain criteria. Now these criteria could be given by the regulatory framework, and issues the conclusion report. Now I am sure that this definition might be a little tricky and tough for you as of now, but when are we going to study it in detail and remember it also? We are going to do it tomorrow at 8 p.m. on the same channel, so please stay tuned. Okay, now it is free for everybody. Okay, first 3 lectures are free for everybody. Now the second objective, which is develop understanding of basics of audit. Understanding of basics of audit. Now when I say basics of audit, what are the basics of audit? So we are going to understand the audit process, and we are going to discuss about that what are the basics of the audit. Okay, then the third objective is going to be aims to strike a balance. This subject AA aims to strike a balance between the technical knowledge, that is the standard based knowledge, the ISAs and everything, as well as a practical application of this knowledge. Now how they are going to test it? So they are going to test it via multiple questions. Some of them would be MCQ, some of them would be the detailed questions, okay, and we are going to discuss upon that. But before we move further, now I would like to tell you that what all points we are going to study in today's session, as in what all points we are going to cover about AA in today's session, okay. So first thing we are going to cover is, other than the objectives, exam format, that what is the exact exam format of AA, okay. Then we are going to discuss about how this subject AA is related with your other subjects of ACCA curriculum. Then we are going to discuss about overview of AA. Now when I say overview of AA, so we are going to discuss about the basics of audit, that how the basic audit process flows, okay, that is how we are going to discuss. Then we are going to move towards the syllabus, although we are not going to discuss in detail about the syllabus, but I am going to throw some light on explaining you that what is the exact syllabus and how you need to prepare for it, okay. Then we are going to move forward and we are going to go for the main capabilities, as in at the end of studying AA and preparing it for the ACCA exam, or after clearing it, what all capabilities you will develop, okay. So we are going to discuss on that. Then finally comes the topic, technical articles. Now why am I so happy about it is, in every attempt I get this question very frequently, that's what are the technical articles. In fact, the first question is, are technical articles applicable? If yes, what kind of technical articles? Then third question, how do we need to prepare for the technical articles? All of these things we are going to cover, okay, in this session only. Then we are going to go for the FAQs. Now these FAQs, some of them are driven by the ACCA global website, that is certain FAQs that are available over there, and certain FAQs that we have personally encountered while talking to students, okay. And then we are finally going to discuss about the batch details, as in how we are going to help you to prepare well for your December 25 or March 26 examinations, okay. So we are going to discuss everything regarding that, okay. Now let's come back. So we have discussed the objectives. Now let's go back to the second part, which is the exam format, and believe me, this is one of the most important discussions that you should do before appearing for the AA examination, before starting your preparation for the AA examination. Why do I say that? Because a lot of times student gets confused that what is the quantum of MCQs. Are MCQs going to be major or descriptive part going to be major? So that becomes really challenging, okay. So please understand this, because it is a little different from AA paper, okay. So the exam is going to be of 3 hours. The exam is going to be of 3 hours, okay. 2 sections are going to be there. What 2 sections? Section A and section B. Section A and section B are going to be there. Are there going to be any choices in the examination, any question that you can leave in choice? No, every question is going to be compulsory. So all questions are compulsory, okay. Okay, now 3 objective test. Section A covers what? 3 objective test cases. Just 3 objective test cases, that is just 3 MCQs? No, these are 3 objective test cases, as in these are case scenarios, okay, case studies with 5 objective type questions worth 2 marks each. Now let us interpret, okay, let us interpret over here. So there are going to be 3 cases, okay, there are going to be 3 cases. These 3 cases will have 5 questions each, so that makes it 15 questions, and each question is going to carry 2 marks, so that makes it 30 marks, okay. Be very clear on this, that the quantum of MCQs in your AA paper is going to be what? Is going to be 30 marks, okay. Now so that is divided into 10 marks each case and total 30 marks, because every case will have 5 questions. 5 questions into 2 marks, that is 10 marks each case. There are going to be 3 cases, so total 30 marks, okay. Now section B, 3 scenarios, again 3 case scenarios with 2 or more requirements, that is there could be A or B requirement, there could be A, B, C, D, there could be A, B, C, okay, with 2 or more, minimum 2 requirements, that is there is not going to be a single requirement of these many marks, okay. Totaling 70 marks, that is section B is going to be your 70 marks. Okay, now let us summarize it a bit. So section A and section B. Section A 30 marks MCQs. How many questions? 3 questions. Section B 70 marks. Type descriptive. How many questions? Could be multiple, generally 2 or more, so could be multiple questions. Okay, there is no fixed number of question that is available over there. Okay, we'll take up the queries later on. We'll take up the queries after I explain everything, then we start taking up the queries as well. Okay, now I hope this is clear. The exam format is clear. 3-hour examination, all questions are compulsory, 2 sections are going to be there. First section is going to be of MCQ worth 30 marks, and section B is going to be of 70 marks, descriptive type questions. Okay, now the most important discussion after the exam format, that is how your AA subject relates with other examinations, how your AA subject relates with other exams of the ACCA qualification. So my friends, I'm sure you must be aware about this paper, Financial Accounting. A lot of you might have claimed the exemptions over it also, right? Financial Accounting FA of knowledge level. Then there's Financial Reporting FR of skills level. Now what happens is, whatever standards you have studied over here, the IFRS standards or IAS standards, whatever you have studied over here, that might form part of your answers of AA. As in, whenever you will draft the answers of AA, audit and assurance, you might see that there might be a shift that you have to use your knowledge of FA and FR while answering AA. Whenever you will be answering especially the descriptive type questions, so there might be certain questions that along with your auditing standards would also check the knowledge of your accounting standards, which is IFRS and IAS. Okay, so that is going to be a little tricky here. So that is why it is recommended that you watch the financial reporting lectures or you clear the financial reporting exams either along with the AA or before AA. Okay, even if you have not cleared the FR paper already, but even if you have studied it well, or if you are preparing for both of them together, then it makes a right choice. Okay, according to me. Now, how audit and assurance is going to help you in further examination? So when you go for the strategic business reporting, which is SBR paper of the professional level, or you choose advanced audit and assurance, that is AAA, as part of your professional exam optional papers, your audit and assurance knowledge would help you. Okay, in your SBR also, in your AAA also. For SBR, if you see the lectures of Vishal Jain sir, you will see that audit and assurance knowledge is required over there. Okay, but if you come to AAA, then I'll tell you that it would be very required from my end that you have your basics cleared. Okay, I'm not saying that we will not cover it. We might cover a lot of basic things when we will be discussing about the AAA lectures also. But having a good foundation of the AA knowledge would be a game changer for you. So if you have AA as your subject, please study it very well. And if you select AAA in your professional level optional papers, then this is going to be a very good practice for you that you have already studied AA as a good paper. Okay, now let's move further. Okay, so I hope this is clear. This is the relational diagram linking AA with other exams. Now, overview of AA, how AA chapters are structured. See, I'm not telling you the syllabus. Syllabus is mentioned after this discussion. However, I'm just telling you the overview of AA. Okay, the overview of AA, how AA subject looks like, what kind of topics are there, and what is the flow of the subject. That is the only thing that I'm explaining you right now. So first of all, regulatory framework is included. When I say regulatory framework, what do I mean by the regulatory framework? Regulatory framework, what do I mean by it? So the overall environment of laws and regulations that are being created for audit. So for example, IFRS are there, ISAs are there, international standards on auditing are there, some part of IFRS and IAS is also used in audit. So all of that regulatory framework, including ethical requirements. So there is a code of ethics for professional accountants. Okay, code of ethics for professional accountants and the ethical requirements. So we have to study that also along with your AA paper. There is a portion that is dedicated towards ethics. Okay, and corporate governance. So both of these, ethical requirements and corporate governance, are separate chapters in your syllabus, like we'll see here. Okay, so see, corporate governance is also there, professional ethics is also there. Okay, so these are separate chapters. However, when we study the regulatory framework, so these are divided into multiple standards. So for example, if you have already studied FR, you might have seen IFRS, right? IFRS this, IFRS that. Similarly, there are going to be ISAs also in your AA syllabus. Okay. However, these ISAs are multiple, okay, and we have to study each one of them step by step. But what is the flow? I'll tell you. Okay. So the basic audit process is of accepting the audit engagement first. Accepting the audit engagement. How do you accept the audit engagement? There are certain standards which are dedicated directly and indirectly towards this, that when you should accept the audit engagement, how you should accept the audit engagement, what are certain conditions, even ethics will play a role over here, that whether you should accept an audit engagement or not. So first of all, we will study about that. Okay, I'm not saying that we will study in this sequence only, but we'll have to get a good knowledge about that how do we accept the audit engagement. Okay, once we have covered that, then we'll go for understanding the entity and its environment. Is it important for audit? We are the auditors, no? We should just take the financial statements, perform the audit procedures, give the report and go. No. Why no? Because when you understand the entity and its environment, you get to know about the risk. You get to know about the risk that are associated with that particular entity. And when I say risk, this is very, very important for us to understand that we are conducting a risk-based audit. If you see the fundamental approach of auditing and assurance worldwide, you will see that there's a shift from the traditional methods to the risk-based methods. When I say risk-based method, what do we mean by it? Imagine if I give you one balance sheet as of now. Okay, it will mostly start with the assets. Okay, and then there would be equity and liabilities. Under assets there would be non-current assets, then there would be current assets, right? Now somebody who might not know about this risk-based audit, they might start with the top line. That is, they might start with not the top line is revenue, but they might start with whatever is mentioned at the top, say property, plant and equipment. They might start with that, right? What if I tell you that the most riskiest area, based on your evaluation, assuming you have evaluated, based on your evaluation, the most riskiest area of this whole balance sheet or P&L is the revenue. Don't you think you should start with revenue first, so that you get more time, you can collect more samples, you can apply more professional judgment and do a risk-based audit, right? So that is why it is very, very important for you to understand that what do we mean when we say risk-based audit. Okay, so that is why to identify the right risk, you should know the entity first. Once you know someone, by someone I mean the entity. Okay, once you know someone, then only you can identify the risk associated with them. Here I am totally talking about the company. Okay, now assess the risk of material misstatement. Assess the risk of material misstatement. Now what is this risk of material misstatement? So my friends, again, to discuss this in detail, okay, right now I can only tell you one thing. Okay, risk of material misstatement is generally defined as IR into CR. Okay, I'll tell you more. IR means inherent risk. Okay, CR means control risk. Okay, this is the thing that I can tell you right now. For more, you will have to come to my lecture tomorrow on YouTube live only. It is a free session for everybody, but once you attend it, you will get to understand that what are these jargons. Okay, risk of material misstatement, because our first lecture is going to be on basics of audit only. Okay, then let's go to the effective controls expected. See, you have assessed the risk of material misstatement, you have assessed the risk of material misstatement, and then you have identified that the controls are effective or not. Now when I say effective, what do I mean by it? Whether the controls are designed and operating effectively or not. The controls are effective in two ways: designed and operating effectively or not. Okay, again, designed or operating effectively or not. Again, to explain you this designed and operating, I'll have to take the liberty of welcoming you to my next session, which is tomorrow at 8 p.m. Okay, so that I can explain you what is the design efficiency, what is the operating efficiency of internal controls, okay, or the overall control. Now, but if your effective internal controls are there, I'll just give you one example over here. Okay, I'll just give you one example over here. So for example, if I have said that, you know, in my institution, I have realized that there are certain students who are attending my lectures without getting the due process done. Okay, first 3 lectures, Monday, Wednesday and Friday, are free for everybody. But what if I tell you that I need to make sure that from the 4th lecture, students should enroll and then only attend my lectures. Okay, I have identified this particular risk that there might be certain students who might be attending without doing the due process, without following the due process. Now this is a risk. This is part of the assessing the risk of material misstatement. I have identified, I have understood the entity, I have identified this risk that at BB versus Global we have this risk. I have identified the risk, I have assessed the risk that yes, it is a major risk for me. The potential is very, very high. If even one student joins in such a way, there might be thousands of students who might be joining in such a way. So I have identified that it is a high risk. Now I need to check what are my controls. So we have created a website, it's a secured one, and you will only have to enroll for our courses to attend the sessions from session 4 and going forward, right? Now this control is designed effectively. I have said with the IT team, they have told me that yes, the controls are designed effectively, and I am also personally sure that whatever are the controls, they are designed in such a manner that nobody would be able to break it, and they will have to enter the session only after following the due process. Design effectiveness done. What about the operating effectiveness? Again, when I said with the IT team after 1 week, I realized that there were certain students who made it possible to breach it and attend the session even without following the due process. So my control is designed effectively. Is it operating effectively? No. So that is the basic explanation of design and operating efficiency. Okay. Now, if you have expected that the control efficiency would be appropriate, not an issue, appropriate control efficiency would be there, people will not be generally be able to breach it. If yes, then and how you will judge that? You will judge that through test of controls. Now if you say that it is satisfactory, what you will do? You will reduce your substantive procedures. Again, what is the meaning of substantive procedures? So for that, my friends, for substantive procedures, again I'll have to welcome you to the session tomorrow. Okay, we are going to cover it. Generally I can tell you one thing, that this substantive procedures are divided into two parts. Okay, one is TOD, test of details, another one is analytical procedures. So I can only tell you that right now, but for detailed discussion we will meet tomorrow at 8 PM again. Okay, so reduced substantive procedures. And what if the result is unsatisfactory? What if the result of test of controls is unsatisfactory? Then what you need to do? You need to communicate the deficiencies. Whom do you need to communicate it to? Again, we'll have to discuss about a particular standard over there, and then we'll discuss. But in this case, you will have to apply all the audit procedures, the full substantive procedures you need to do. After doing all this, your review would be completed finally, okay, via your seniors, or if you are the partner, you will review, and then you will submit the report to management. Which report? The auditor's report. You will issue the auditor's report. Here, in the meantime, some other procedures also happens, but that is the overview. So I hope you got the overview. What you will do? You will accept the audit engagement. You will understand the entity in this environment. You will assess the risk of material misstatement. You will evaluate if the internal controls are effective or not. If yes, what you will do? You will reduce your substantive procedures. If not, what you will do? You will apply full substantive procedures. In both the cases, you will again review your report and submit your report to the management and issue the audit report. Right? That is how you are going to sum up. Any questions till here? Any questions till here? Any questions? Okay. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? If you have any questions, do let me know. Any questions? Anybody? Do let me know. Yes. Any questions? No. I feel no, right? No worries, no worries, no worries. Okay. Now let's discuss about the syllabus. Okay. What is the syllabus? What is the syllabus of AA? So I'll just tell you what is the syllabus of AA over here. Okay. So first of all, the syllabus of AA is divided into multiple sections. When I say sections, I do not mean chapters. Under each section there are multiple chapters. Okay. So section 1 is audit framework. Section 1 is what? Audit. Section 1 is audit framework and regulation. Section 1 is what? Audit framework and regulation. Section 2 is what? Planning and risk assessment. Section 2 is what? Planning and risk assessment. Section C3 is what? Internal controls. Then section 4 is audit evidences. Then section 5 is review and reporting. Okay. And section 6 is employability and technology skills. Okay. Employability and technological skills. Now, what is majorly covered? See, I cannot explain you the whole syllabus in this video, but I'll tell you certain basic pointers what are covered under each section. Okay. So when I talk about section A covers the concept of audit and other assurance engagements. I told you that tomorrow we are going to cover the basics of audit, and along with basics of audit we will be covering about this chapter number 1, which is the concept of audit and other assurance engagement. The concept of what? The concept of audit and other assurance engagements that we are going to cover. Then we have external audits. External audits as in the independent audit, the statutory audit, all of these words you might have heard somewhere. So external audits, okay, the auditor that goes to a company and audits the company for the statutory purposes, that is known as the external audit. Generally the report issued is called as independent auditor's report, if you have heard it. Now, third chapter is going to be corporate governance. What is corporate governance? Corporate governance is the system by which an entity is directed and controlled. But are we going to study it in such a way? Definitely not. We are going to study it in very detailed way, and we are going to take up a lot of questions for each chapters. Okay, how that I'll explain at the end, which is in the batch details. Okay. Later on, what I'll do is I'll also put the timestamps to this video so that it is easier for you to refer. Okay. Now, professional ethics and ACCA's code of ethics and conduct. Are we going to cover it? Yes, it is major part of the syllabus. This is chapter number 4, major part of the syllabus. We have to cover it. Then planning and risk assessment. Under planning, see, obtaining, accepting and continuing audit engagements. Obtaining is one thing, that is you got the audit engagement, that is one thing. Okay. Then accepting, whether you can accept it or not. So you have to consider ethics while doing it. You have to consider other parameters also. You have to consider what other standards and frameworks is. And continuing audit engagement. See, obtaining audit engagement is one thing, keeping it as in accepting it and managing it and continuing it is another thing. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, now objective and general principles. When I say objective and general principles, what do I mean by it? Objective and general principles. So we have to discuss about that, what are the certain objectives of audit planning, how audit planning is done, when audit planning starts, till when it continues, what is the process of audit planning and everything. Then assessing audit risk. We discussed at the overview, right, that what you need to do is you need to identify the risk first, assess the risk, whatever are the major or potential risk, then you have to perform the procedures over it. So you will be assessing the risk, not identifying, assessing, because identification will be done at the initial stage. Then understanding the entity and its environment and the applicable financial reporting framework. That is what you will do. You will try to understand the entity, that what is the company structure, and how is the company affected by various factors available throughout, as in what is the external environment of the company, what is the internal environment of the company, how these factors affect the company. We are going to understand everything over here. So what all things you should understand while evaluating a company, while understanding the entity, we will be covering about that. Okay, once we do all of these, okay, then fraud, laws and regulations. Is it important for us as professional accountants or auditors to understand about the fraud? Yes, it is very important. See, I'm not saying this that you need to understand it to perform the fraud or to conduct the fraud. No, definitely not. But you need to understand fraud in detail, because you will be in the public accounting and auditing domain. Once you are in the public accounting and auditing domain, your job is to evaluate that whether other people are doing the fraud or not. If yes, and if it is your professional responsibility, you have to report it also. So that is why fraud, laws and regulation needs to be understood. That is a separate chapter. Finally, audit planning and documentation. How do we do the audit planning and how do we document it? You know, when I used to work with one of the big fours, what they used to say? They used to say that work which is not documented is not done. They used to say it in audit, okay? Work which is not documented is not done. So for example, if I go to them and I tell them that my friend or boss, why I said my friend, because there is a practice that we do not call people by sir or ma'am, we call them by their names. Okay, so I said that Mr. XYZ, I have done the work. Okay, they tell me that, you know, please show me the file, and I said that, you know, I have not prepared the file, but believe me, I have done the work. Believe me, I have done the work. I have not just prepared the file, I have not documented it properly. You know what they'll say? They'll say, my buddy, the work that is not documented is not done. So that is why it is very important for us to understand that how do we document the work. You know, there's a very beautiful line that is said over here. When we explain the documentation, there's a very beautiful line that is given by standards only, that what should be the level of your documentation. Should you document everything? Should you document only the major events? How do you need to take it forward? So there's a very major thing that is said, which is, you know, the documentation should be of such a level that a person who understands that a normal auditor with no, that an experienced auditor with no prior, that an experienced auditor with no prior relation to the audit should understand that what are the procedures performed, what is the conclusion reached, and how it has affected the report. If an experienced auditor with no relation to the audit could understand these three things, what the procedures performed, the conclusions reached, and how it has affected the report, then your documentation is appropriate. But we will be taking a lot of example while explaining it and while understanding it in the full lectures. Okay. Now, internal control becomes really important. What are internal controls? So see, from lecture number 4 you will see that unless you perform the process, you might not be able to see it. Why? Because we have an internal control in place that anybody who wants to see lecture 4 and above, they should follow the due process, right? So that is called as internal control, the controls which are put in place to prevent something from going wrong or to detect it after they went wrong. However, it is not that simple. We will have to understand it in detail. So systems of internal controls, how the systems of internal controls are defined in a particular organization. Then the use and evaluation of systems of internal controls by auditor. The use and evaluation of systems of internal control by the auditor. That is, right now you will see that a lot of companies have technical controls. The system based controls, generally it is said application based controls, right? Now these application based controls could not be tested by auditors. Okay. When I say auditors, I mean the financial auditors. So how do we use these controls? How do we test these controls? All of that process we will be discussing over here. Then test of controls, we have already discussed. Why do we do that? To identify the design and operating effectiveness of the internal controls, right? Now, communication on internal controls. Once you have determined your conclusion, how do you need to communicate it further? That is covered as part of your communication on internal controls. Then internal audit and governance. And what is internal audit? Is it same as external audit? No, it is not same as external audit. So generally internal audit is done to identify the processes and to test the efficiency of those processes. What do I mean by it? Again, there's a separate chapter. We will be discussing about it when we will move to our further lectures. Okay. So internal audit and governance and the differences between external audit and internal audit. See, for double exam, this might be a very favorite question, that what is the exact difference between an external audit and an internal audit. So please make sure that you study it very well. Okay. Now the scope of internal audit function, outsourcing and internal audit assignment, that is how the internal audit process works. We will be discussing about each one of them in detail. Then the audit evidences. There's one term, assertions. What is assertions? It is not a normal English term, right? Assertions. So for that, again, I'll write something which is very important. See you at 8 p.m. on Monday, that is 15th at 8 p.m. on the same channel. Okay. Also, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay, so you can find the lecture over there also. Now, audit procedures. So what all are the audit procedures? I'll just tell you right now. Okay, so these are inspection, confirmation, analytical procedures, inquiry, then observation, then recalculation, then reperformance. Okay, I'll just tell you. Okay, so these are, say, inquiry, confirmation, then analytical procedures, then there is inquiry, inspection, then there is observation, then there is reperformance, and then there is recalculation. But my friends, tell me one thing. If I follow the similar practice of giving you these notes, the handwritten notes, and if I keep editing it during the classes, for example, I have edited certain things, should you get it? Yes, you should get it, right? So I'll tell you how you will get it and how it is going to be very beneficial for you, the handwritten notes and the board notes. Okay. Now, audit sampling, when I'm going to tell you just at the end of the session. Okay, no worries, please stay with me in this session. Now, audit sampling and other means of testing. See, a giant company might have enter into thousands or lakhs of transactions. Sometimes they enter thousands of transactions in a day, right? So it might not be possible for an auditor to evaluate and verify all the transactions. So generally audit sampling is done, but how the samples are taken, what methods are there, is it going to be some statistical method or non-statistical methods also? So we are going to study everything about it in this chapter. Then the audit of specific items. So there are certain specific items that have been identified, and how do we audit them? These might be highly risky areas or areas where there would be a lot of professional judgment that would be required. Then automated tools and techniques. Are there going to be certain tools and techniques that might help you in your audit? We will be discussing about that. Then the work of others. Now this others does not mean anybody. This means a professional, the work of other professional. It could be the work of internal auditor when we study about it. It could be the work of any other management or auditors expert. The not-for-profit organization. Now this becomes really important, because this is something that ACCA test also. ACCA body test also. Not-for-profit organization. How do you audit not-for-profit organizations? So this becomes really important for us to understand. So we will cover each one of them. Okay. Then comes the review and reporting part. Yes. So then comes the review and reporting part. Okay. Subsequent events. What are subsequent events? If you have studied FR, you might have a good idea about what are subsequent events. Now, how those subsequent events affect the auditor's report, we will be discussing about that here. Going concern, that is a fundamental principle of accounting, right? Going concern assumption. How does that affect the auditor's report, auditor's judgment? We will be discussing about each one of them here. Okay, that is something important. Then written representations. Now, written representations are certain letters which are given by management to the auditor. Okay, but what are the contents of these representation letters? What is mentioned over here? How important it is? What could be mentioned? What could not be mentioned? There are clear guidelines over it, and we will be discussing about each one of them here. Then audit finalization and the final review. Audit finalization and the final review. That is the audit finalization. That is a summary of all the judgment that have been taken, all the things that needs to be mentioned in the report and everything. And finally, the auditor's report is issued. Okay. But the syllabus is not ended yet? No, it is. What are these employability and technology skills? These are the additional skills that you need to frame part of your answers. No direct question might be asked over these skills, but what could be done is that while evaluating your answers, these skills might be tested. So you have to be very aware while writing your answers that whether these skills have been presented appropriately or not. When we will be practicing it, we will be practicing it specifically when we will be solving our questions. Okay. So with this, the syllabus got end. Oh my god, this is such a big syllabus, right? 1, 2 pages. It's a damn big syllabus. No, it is not. See, I'll tell you how. You understand this basic workflow, this basic flow of the audit subject that we understood, overview, right? Once you get your hold over all the chapters, it is exactly this. The image that I'm presenting right now in front of you, it is exactly this. Okay. Once you grab your understanding over these concepts, you will be able to summarize all the concepts, all the chapters in this way only, plus 2-3 chapters like internal audit and all. However, everything would be summarized in this way only. Every standard will burn down eventually to this chart. That is why I have prepared this chart specifically for you, and that is why I have covered it as part of your AA orientation, so that if you understand this, then you are sorted for AA. Okay. And believe me, you are going to love when you study audit. Why? Because again, I'll repeat, it is the most practical subject written in the most theoretical manner, and the first belief that is going to break is that audit is a theoretical subject. Once we start our lectures, the first belief that is going to be broken is that audit is a theoretical subject, because we will be taking such a practical approach while studying everything that you will love it. Okay. Now what are the main capabilities? But don't you think we should cover it a little later? First of all, let's come to discussion on technical articles. Then at the end, we will be discussing about that what are the main capabilities. Okay, at the end we will be discussing about what are the main capabilities. Okay, so the technical articles. Now what are these technical articles? See, these are officially not part of the AA syllabus. Okay, but these are certain articles that have been published and you need to read it. I'm not saying that you need to remember it completely, but you need to read it before going for your examination. Why? Because there could be certain questions that might be asked from technical articles. There could be certain concepts, there could be certain discussions that might be asked from your technical articles, and that is why it is very, very important for you to understand that how these technical articles play an important role in your AA preparation. Okay, so if I say, see, for each part of the syllabus, these are the sections of the syllabus, right, that we studied some time ago. So for these areas there are various technical articles. So say for audit framework and regulation, there is laws and regulations. For planning and risk assessment, there is risk and understanding the entity. So it is just an article. Once you read it, you will identify that okay, this was purely for reading, and we can take a certain points while writing our answers. So when you frame your descriptive answers specifically in your AA syllabus, you will find that these articles would play a major role. So it is highly recommended that you read these articles. Where are they available? They are available on the ACCA global website only. You can freely go and read these articles. We will also understand during our live classes how do we need to read these articles. In fact, if required, I would read 1 or 2 articles with you, okay, and summarize it for you. Now, audit risk. Audit risk. What is audit risk? How the audit risk is determined? Everything. Then ISA 330 and responses to assess risk. Then audit working papers, and all of these things would be covered over here. Now, the audit of wages under internal control, specific aspects of auditing in a computer-based environment, then auditing in a computer-based environment, okay. Then under audit evidences, the audit of assertions, how assertions are tested, okay. Then review and reporting the auditor's report. So some extra points about the auditor's report that might not be part of the official syllabus. Then going concern, then subsequent events, multiple areas using the work of internal auditors, because it affects most of the areas while planning also, while executing also, while completion also. Then analytical procedures, what are these? We will be studying tomorrow. Okay, now FAQs. But before FAQs, since we have covered almost the full syllabus, the full orientation of AA as a subject, okay, so let's discuss about the capabilities. Let's read it once. So explain the concept of audit and assurance and the functions of audit, corporate governance, including ethics and professional conduct. Don't you think you will be able to understand it once we complete all the syllabus that we have discussed about? Yes. Demonstrate how the auditor obtains and accepts the audit engagements. Yes. Obtains an understanding of the entity. Yes. Assesses the risk. Yes. And plans an audit of financial statements. Will be able to answer it? Yes, we will be able to. We will be capable enough to answer this, to explain this, okay. Now, describe and evaluate internal controls. We will evaluate internal controls. We have seen as part of the official syllabus. Then we will be able to understand the techniques and audit tests, including IT systems also. Then appropriate recommendation. We will be in a position to give appropriate recommendations also. We might be able to communicate the control risk also, and we will be able to describe the scope function of internal audit also, because there's a whole new section which is given to, whole different section which is given to internal audit. Then identify and describe the work and evidence obtained by the auditor and others required to meet the objectives of the audit engagement. That is, how do we need to evaluate that what evidence we have gained, how we have concluded upon that. So we have discussed about the audit documentation and everything. So based on that, we will be able to answer this part. And then explain how consideration of subsequent events and going concern can inform the conclusion from audit work and are reflected in different types of auditors report. So did we discuss about subsequent events, going concern, that we will be covering as part of the syllabus? Yes. So that is why we will be able to develop this capability also. And the last one is demonstrate employability and technology skills. How we will be able to do it? See, we have just discussed it. So that is why you need to be very sure that we will be covering everything. We have good hold over the syllabus, and you will be getting what from me I'll explain in the batch details portion. Okay, so let's quickly go to the FAQs first, and then we will be discussing about everything related to the batch details. Okay, the FAQs. Do we need to quote ISA numbers? Say ISA 250, ISA 260, ISA 200. Do we need to quote it? Not necessarily. Can you quote it? Yes, if you are very sure. However, my recommendation would be that I'll make you remember certain important ones like ISA 200. For others, you have a choice. If you remember it for sure, then you can quote it. Otherwise, no need. Does ACCA body deduct your marks for that? No. Okay. No, only knowledge and application of ISA is required. See, these FAQs are given by ACCA body only. So do not consider that these are my personal answers. These are the answers which are mentioned on the ACCA global website also. You can go and check. Okay. Now, can we use bullet points in answers? Yes, in fact it is recommended also that whenever you give an answer which is long enough, you need to use the bullet points. Yes, but complete sentences unless requirement is to list, that is unless there is a complete requirement to give the detailed ones, you need to use these bullet points in the list. Okay, then could a 20-mark question be set on audit reports? A full-fledged 20 marks question? Not likely. Can it be? Yes, but it's not likely. That is, generally if they ask for audit report, they generally ask, they club it with other topics also. That is, whole 20 marks is not dedicated to audit report. Now, could candidates be asked about business risk? See, audit risk is fine, but we have nowhere discussed about the business risk. There could be multiple risks. No, in my case, there are certain audit risks, there are certain financial risks, but there are certain business risks. So, will I be asked to evaluate business risk? No, business risk isn't part of the double syllabus. Is it part of the triple syllabus? Yes. Okay. Now, is monetary unit sampling examinable? What is monetary unit sampling? We will be discussing it in the ISA related to the sampling. But yes, it is examinable. We might need to calculate certain things also over here. Okay. So that is some part of the calculation for those students who love calculation. Now, could candidates be expected to pick a sample? No, that is, it could not happen that there's a data which is given and you are asked to select the samples. No, you might be asked for the technique that needs to be used to select the samples, not the whole sample. Now, is error projection examinable? When I say error projection, as in how a particular error affects the audit report and the financial statement. So yes, candidates are expected to be able to understand what the auditor should do where an error is found in a sample. Okay, so how it is affecting the audit report and the financial statement, that might be examinable. Okay, that is important. Now let's go for the last one, which is batch details. Okay, so I'll tell you what are the batch details. Okay, so our batch, which is at BB versus Global by CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay, so my batch, that is I am CA Supreet Agrawal. I will be teaching you AA at BB versus Global. So my batch is divided into concept lectures as well as question practice sessions. So I have divided these lectures into two parts: concept lectures and question practice sessions. When I say concept lectures, so it would be covered in live mode. When it would be covered in live mode, it would be covered every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. What are going to be the timings? 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. IST. What is going to be the language? The language is going to be English. Okay, the English. Okay, will recorded backup be provided to us? Yes, the recorded backup would also be provided to you. No worries on that. How can we ask the queries? So let me explain it to you after the question practice sessions. Okay, these question practice sessions, which are very important for your AA preparation. Why do I say that? See, I've seen certain students, they attend the concept lectures, but what they do is that when they move towards the question practice, they skip the lectures. Okay, be it in recorded mode, be it in live mode. I'll tell you, that is a disaster in case of audit. Why so? Because question practice is the foundation of preparing for AA. See, you might understand the concept well, but you have also seen that the objective clearly says that you need to apply those concepts also. You will not be able to apply those concepts unless you really practice in a good environment. Okay, so we have prepared the question bank. This question is from the approved publishers, from the ACCA study hub, from past exam paper, from mock test, from practice test, everything. Okay, so I have personally selected a lot of questions for all of you, which I would be solving along with you in the class, plus I would be giving you for the homework as well. Please understand that you need to be available while we solve the questions. Now, when are these classes going to be scheduled? So every alternate class, that is, if Monday we cover the concepts, then on Wednesday major time would be given to the questions. Okay, or at least some time would be given to the questions. Then again on Friday we will be covering the concepts. On Monday we will be solving the questions related to those concepts. That makes it a very beautiful exercise for you, and please understand that I would be putting in the efforts with you, and I would be requiring the efforts from you if you prepare for AA. Okay, because AA has certain low passing percentages, you might have heard that. It is not because it is very difficult. It is not because people are not able to understand it. It is because they practice the questions a little less. That is why we will be throwing much light on what kind of questions are asked in the examination, how do we need to solve it. Generally, you will see that in case of MCQs, there are two options which students get confused in. So you need to evaluate that what are those two options, why we are going with a particular option, not the second option which is confusing us. We need to solve everything in the class. Okay, so please be available with me while you do it. Now, the timings are going to be same, since it would be in every alternate class. Both MCQs and descriptive question practice would be covered in the classes. Okay, the language is going to be again English. Now the most important part, the query, how you will ask your queries, because this is something that I would be providing. Now how I would be responding to your queries. So my friends, I would be responding in two ways. Okay, I would highly recommend you to join the live sessions. Okay, I would highly recommend you to join the live session. Just in case if you are not able to join from tomorrow and you process your registration maybe later on after the week, after the 3 classes on YouTube, then also I would suggest that please be available in the live classes and complete the backlog as early as possible. Okay, but please be available in the live sessions. It develops your discipline, it helps you to understand certain concepts, it will make the session more interactive for both of us. Okay, so during live classes you can ask your queries, and on application also. Our classes would be running on app 4th class onwards, so you can ask your queries on app also. Generally I respond within the same day or maximum within 24 hours. Okay, now mock test. Are we going to conduct mock test? Yes, my friends, we are going to conduct 6 mock tests for you. 6 mock tests. Okay, 4 unit test. Unit test as in certain chapters would be covered. Say chapter number 1 to 5, say 5 to 10, say 10 to 15, that kind of. Okay, 4 unit test. Will evaluation be included? Yes, with evaluation. Okay, when it would be conducted? Every alternate Saturday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then again next week's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 6 classes have been done. 7th day, which is Saturday, the second week Saturday, every alternate Saturday is the test. Okay, then 2 full syllabus tests at the end. 2 full syllabus tests at the end. That is once we complete the lectures. When we will be completing the lectures, where are we scheduled? So we are starting from 14th of September, like we have started today. Okay, we are going to finish by mid of November. This mid of November could be anywhere between 5th of November to 15th of November. Okay, but we will try to close as soon as possible. The duration is going to be of 75 hours approx. Okay, and the validity is going to be 3 months. Okay, the validity is going to be 3 months. Is this full syllabus test would be with evaluation? Yes. Will we stay with you after the completion of the class till you clear your exams or till you give the December 25 or March 26 exams? Yes, we will be available on app and we will be able to resolve your queries. Okay, now what will you get from my end? So you will get the soft copy of AA handwritten summary notes. When I say AA handwritten summary notes, what do I mean by it? So I mean that these are the summary notes that I would be giving you. See, I have given all of these things in handwritten mode, right? So you will be getting the similar handwritten notes from me. Okay, similar handwritten notes from me. Soft copy of AA question bank. AA question bank, soft copy of AA question bank. Whatever question banks I would be solving with you, I would be giving you a soft copy of it as well, so that you can practice at home also. And class board notes. Now some students says that class board notes are not worthy enough, we are generally not able to take any benefit. But my friends, let me ask you this. Okay, I'll show you one example. If I ask you what are the audit procedures, okay, and if I explained it in the class but you forgot it, don't you think this is going to help you? Because I've simply written here inquiry, confirmation, I've written everything over here. So don't you think it is going to help you? The inquiry, confirmation, analytical procedure, inspection, observation, reperformance, recalculation. Yes, it is going to help you, right? So that is why board notes would be a game changer for you. I'm telling you this right now. Okay, so that is something that we are going to cover over here. So we have covered what? We have covered the objectives, we have covered the exam format, we have covered the relational diagram linking AA to other subjects of the ACCA curriculum, we have covered the overview of AA, we have covered the syllabus, we have covered the main capabilities, technical articles, FAQs and the batch details. So I hope that every question must have been answered. Still, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me on the comment box. Please let me know. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know on the chat box. Yes, please feel free to let me know on the chat box. Okay, now some other details first of all from my end. Okay, some other details, some other crucial details that were being asked to me either on WhatsApp, Telegram or Instagram or YouTube. Okay, so number one, if you need to connect with me, how you can connect? So you can connect with me on YouTube. Okay, my YouTube handle is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay, number 2, what you can do. Okay, Telegram. So there's Telegram. My Telegram name is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay, In case of Instagram, if you want to connect with me on Instagram, how you can do it? So I have my account with the name of ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay. Number 4, just in case you need to connect with me personally sometimes. Okay, in case of some major requirements, what you can do, you can connect with me on my number also, although I'll not recommend it unless it is very very urgent, but this could be the number. Okay. And number 5, if you want to buy these lectures, okay, lectures or anything, then where you need to go, to www.bbvirtualsglobal.com. okay, and you can connect with the counseling team also via numbers given in the description box. So I hope that answers your queries. Just in case if there is anything else, please let me know in the chat box. I hope there is no query. Okay, so there's one query. I'm currently preparing for management accounting F3 paper. I'll complete this paper in 1 month. Okay, so when are you bringing classes for all the skills paper? I want to study with you at BB Virtuals. So my friend, I would tell you that once you clear your knowledge level, the first recommendation that I would give you is that you should appear for your FR and AA papers, and we have both of these papers available at BB Virtuals Global. And by the time you clear these papers, I hope that other papers would also be available. We also have PM available, so you have sufficient classes available, and for rest of the papers also we will come up very soon. Okay, but please stay tuned with us for the official announcements. Okay, now, okay, I think this was the only query that was asked. Anything else? I hope that answers your query. Nikhil. Yes, if you are available in the session, please let me know if that answers your query. And in the meantime, I would request others, if you have any queries, please feel free to let me know. Okay, I think it's done. Okay, thank you so much. Hoping to see you all in these sessions. Please feel free to let me know in case of any queries. Thank you.